If you're new to Upland or even a seasoned veteran, one of the more complex things to do in Upland is travel. Knowing which cities are connected to each other by travel routes, taking either a plane or a train or even the Hyperloop, knowing ahead of time the cost of travel, and now even knowing which airplane terminal to travel to. There are domestic terminals and there are international terminals. There's a lot of complexities to traveling within Upland, and I'm going to not only in this video teach you how to travel, but I'm going to explain some of the tools and resources that the Upland Guide has to assist you in traveling, and also detail here how to travel within the city of New York, which is one of the more complex areas within Upland to travel between. Before I go into the details of how to travel, I want to show you some of the tools and resources that I have created to help you guys travel between cities. And the first tool that I have is my Discord travel bot. The link is in the description below, and all I have to do is type in the command $from city to city, and it will tell me both the cheapest and the fastest routes between those two cities. You can also see here some additional links that we have, one of which is a world map where we can learn about specific MetaVentures nodes, racetracks, and everything else that you want to find in Upland. At the airports here, you can see that there are two different colors of planes. There's the white plane and there's the yellow plane. The yellow planes are international terminals, and the white planes are domestic terminals. I explain more about this later on in this video. Another pro tip that I have for you is sometimes ahead of new city releases, when you want to travel out of a specific city, you might find that all of the terminals and all of the spots here are all gone. And there's absolutely no way of clicking on the terminal in order to send yourself out of the city. Well, there is a way of doing that actually in some cities. Take a look at the link in the upper right hand corner to see the video to learn how to circumvent this obstacle. Before you start traveling, but after you figure out the route you want to take using our travel bot, you want to make sure that you have enough sends to get there. So make sure to click on your block explorer and click on this airplane, and it will tell you exactly how many sends you have. You can hold up to 11 sends at any given time. Learn more about sends in the link in the upper right hand corner. One of the more complex regions to navigate within Upland is the greater New York area. Here we have Manhattan and the Bronx to the north of it, we have Brooklyn here, and we have Queens, where there isn't really a very clearly defined border between Brooklyn and Queens. We also have Staten Island over here. Now, the JFK Airport is located just southeast of Queens, but it is actually directly connected to Manhattan. So from the airport terminal in JFK, if I wanted to go to Manhattan, I could just send myself to any property over there. So I'm going to go ahead and send myself to one of my properties here in Manhattan, and I'm going to do that by clicking on my property and clicking send. We also know that to send yourself to your own property, you do not have to pay the visiting fee, and you also do not spend any UPEX. One of the most common mistakes made by new players learning how to travel is that they will think that from this property that I am at here in Manhattan, if I wanted to travel to a new city, let's say Brooklyn or even Detroit, that I would want to send myself to the train terminal in that city. So if I wanted to go to Brooklyn, and this is the Brooklyn terminal, I would go and click on the terminal, go to the train terminal, and from here I can choose any one of these train terminals to send myself to. It's important to take note of the number of spots remaining. There are a limited number of spots at each terminal for a given day. So at the end of the day, this number will reset and there will be new spots in the train terminal for the following day. So if I wanted to travel to this Brooklyn train terminal, I would click 10 UPEX to pay to send myself there, and I would also have to use a send. By clicking confirm, I will now receive an error message. It says send not allowed. Sorry, but you can't send your Explorer to this property from another city. And that actually makes complete sense. If you think about the real world, if you're in Manhattan and you wanted to go to Brooklyn, you can't just go to the train terminal in Brooklyn. You would first have to go to the train terminal in Manhattan. So I would have to go and click on the train terminal in Manhattan. I would have to send myself here, and again, pay 20 UPEX to do so and use a send. And once I'm at the train terminal in Manhattan, then I can go ahead and buy a ticket to any destination that I can reach from this terminal. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the terminal once again, and we can see that the destinations from Manhattan are Brooklyn, Rutherford, Bronx, Detroit, and Queens. So if I wanted to travel to Brooklyn, I could choose Brooklyn, but I'm going to go to Queens. By clicking Queens, it's telling me how long it's going to take me and the price that it costs to travel. The price that I paid previously was a send fee to the terminal, and now that I'm at the terminal, I have to pay to use the transportation. So I'm going to confirm that I'm going to pay 10 UPIX for this 2-minute train ride, and we're on our way. So I didn't arrive at the Brooklyn terminal, but I did arrive at the Queens terminal. And we can see here that this is how you end up at the train terminal at a different city. Now from here, you can see that my block explorer is starting to wander around, or I can go ahead and send myself to any other property within Queens. Now, the problem here is that it's not entirely clear where the border runs between Queens and Brooklyn. So I have two properties over here, and this is actually Brooklyn. So if I tried to test and send myself to one of my properties here, we will actually be able to see that I will not be able to do this, even though it's my own property. And once again, we get this error that we saw before, that you can't send your Explorer to this property from another city. There's a link in the description below that will take you to a web page on the Upland Guide that talks specifically about navigating the greater New York area, and you can see where exactly these borders are and what are the best ways of traveling between the different boroughs. There are different modes of transportation in Upland. There are planes, there are trains, buses, there's even a Hyperloop between Chicago and Cleveland. In the future, you will be able to travel between cities using cars. And now I'm going to show you how to use the air travel. As I mentioned before, there is both international travel and domestic travel. So to take a flight, you actually have to go to the specified terminal. And I'm currently located in Queens, and there are two different ways of getting to this JFK airport from the greater Manhattan area. The first one is if you were actually in Manhattan, similar to how I sent myself to the train terminal within Manhattan to go to a different city, the airport is actually directly connected to Manhattan. So from any property in Manhattan, you would be able to just go ahead and click on this airport and send yourself directly to it. The second way of getting to JFK is from Queens. And from the Queens train terminal, I can actually go ahead and take a bus to JFK. So here we can see that there's actually a bus to JFK. So I can go ahead and take that, and I will be on my way to JFK. On the other hand, when I'm going from JFK, I showed you how to send yourself directly to a property in Manhattan, but if I wanted to go to Queens, then there is a bus station right over here. So if I wanted to get to Queens from the airport, I would have to send myself to this bus station, pay the fee, and now I will be able to take this bus. I've arrived to the bus terminal here in Queens, and now I want to send myself to the airport. Now you can see here, once again, as I mentioned, that there is this yellow airplane and these white airplanes. The white airplanes are domestic terminals that will take you to cities within the same country. So here we're at JFK, so obviously these terminals will take you to US airports. And this yellow terminal will take you to international destinations. And if you zoom in a little bit, you can actually see that this will say international terminal, and these other ones will say terminal number 5 or whatever number that is. So I can go ahead and now send myself to this terminal. I'm going to choose 20 UPX as the cheapest one. And once I arrive, I can obviously go and enter the terminal and buy a flight to whatever destination I want. Here we can see some of the available cities: Las Vegas, Kansas City, Nashville, Los Angeles, and more. It's important to note that not every airport is connected to every city within Upland, and that's why it's important to utilize our travel bot in order to determine the fastest and cheapest routes between the two cities, because you might have to take a connecting flight or a connecting train. And once again, the link to the bot is in the description below. I hope that this video was helpful. Make sure to take a look at additional videos that I have here below as you get started on your journey in Upland. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.